Afternoon and welcome back to TaxCalc TV, your favourite webinar series for accountants and bookkeepers who are looking to make more from your business and keep on top of regulations and generally just be more wonderful. Last month we covered the challenges of getting paid faster, but this month it's all about getting paid more. As we get into the new year, many of you will be thinking about increasing your revenue growth, equating that with increasing your client numbers, and then quietly sort of shrinking away from the idea of going networking or increasing the amount of Facebook posts that you're making. But we do have the solution. There are almost certainly riches buried away in your existing client base. All you need to do is spot them and then to take advantage of them. And how to do that is exactly what we are going to be sharing with you here today. So we're joined by not just one, but two authorities on the subject. First of all, the founder of the Accountants Growth Club, Heather Townsend. Heather, tell us a little bit about the Accountants Growth Club.
Thank you very much, Andy, for inviting me. I like being called an authority. It doesn't happen that often.
There you go. Well, you did pay for that. That's excellent.
Absolutely. I did get a lot of ribbing in the run-up to this. What do the Accountants Growth Club do? Very simply, we have accounting firm owners now of all flavours, whether you're a bookkeeper, tax specialist, grow their practice whilst working fewer hours with less stress. So we take you through those painful transition points with a unique blend of coaching, peer-to-peer networking, in-person meeting, and insight and community that is unrivaled out there. So thank you very much, Andy, for the chance to help your audience today find more work from their existing clients, because that is the number one route to market as far as I'm concerned.
It is a pleasure. And I would say to everyone, Johan and I, we were in the green room and we were treated to Heather's singing of Les Mis, which was something else, I'm sure. I think is that one of the subscription levels with Accountants Growth Club?
Funny enough, I rarely sing in public. I have no idea why you were subjected to that pain in your ears.
I couldn't find the mute button. But anyway, nonetheless, we're also joined by Johan. Johan is the author of The Ultimate Guide to Pricing for Accountants and Bookkeepers, and the owner of his own firm, which is... Go on, Johan.
On Point Accounting. I thought you took a note of that.
I did, but I'm free-forming. So, Johan, you're going to be talking really about your experience with growing firms, with growing your client base, and also how Engager can help do that, because you are one of the founders of Engager, if anyone didn't know that. Okay, so before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. Bottom right of the screen, for those of you who are new to TaxCalc TV and haven't been here before, you've got three options of interest. You've got polls. I'll be putting a poll live very shortly. The little red button will appear, hit polls, and you can take part. Questions are, if you want to ask us a question directly, hit that, and you can use that. Only we will see those questions. The chat is for everyone to chat. Everyone will see what you post in there. We love your comments. We love your feedback. We love if you've had an experience, we're talking about something, and you can say, hey, that happened to me. Please put that in. It really is useful. Everyone likes to hear that as well. So please use the chat function as much as you like on there. So before we get started, oh yes, and there will be a recording. I always forget to say that there will be a recording which will be sent out straight afterwards. So let's get into this, because I want to ask a poll first, because one of the, this is all about growing your firm, growing your client base from your existing clients. So I'm going to put a poll live, which is the question is, what are the biggest challenges you find when winning new business for your firm? So if you hit the polls button, you'll be able to go in there and is it about the amount of time that you have? Is it about the clients that you're getting being too price sensitive? Is it about the referrals that you're getting? Be interesting to know your theory or your thoughts on that. While we get into that, I would like to start with really just thinking about why we're here. And this is a point for all of you, is that I think most people will agree, accountants, bookkeepers in general, aren't massive fans of going out networking, going out and producing endless LinkedIn posts. Well, what is that? What is stopping people? What's your thoughts on the accounting psyche in that respect?
Shall I start, Andy?
You go for it.
So I think the first thing for people to think about is, at the age of 18, did you wake up in the morning and go, I know, I'm going to become an accountant so I can sell to people? We didn't, did we? You know, and some of you might go, well, actually, I didn't wake up at the age of 18 and think, I'm going to be an accountant. But I'd love to know anybody out there who did wake up at the age of 18 and think, I'm going to be an accountant. You know, my daughter is a trainee accountant at the age of 18, so she did. So the first thing is, none of us identify as business developers. In our psyche, we are technicians at heart. We, you know, this is what we're there for. And why can't clients just see that we're good at what we do? And so we put all of this stuff and this self-talk around selling, business development, and we try and move ourselves away from it because we're great technicians. So number one, it's about identity. Number two, we're often exhausted and working long hours. You know, if you're just pushing stuff through and somebody like me says, right, 3 hours a week, you're going to spend ringing up clients looking for more opportunities. You'll look at me, you give me a face and you'll disappear and you'll go back to the workflow. So it's about having the headspace to do it. It's about knowing that this is the route to market and all of this stuff. It's great to see that Henry at the age of 6 knew he was going to be an accountant. And the other thing is, we're often told right from the very word go, you are going to go out there and win work by networking, because networking is the best thing to do. It's the way you're going to get referrals. And you know what? When you're sitting there and you've got no clients, absolutely, yeah, social media network if you've got no clients. So we're often now conditioned to think, oh, if I'm going to win work, I have to go out, normally out, either out online or out to win work. And nobody's really taught us, because, you know, we don't do this business development thing, that actually, if you put your number one focus on getting more work from existing clients and how you do that, you should have no problem ever winning work. But nobody tells us that. We're not trying to do that. So to wrap up, we've not been taught. We don't have the time to do it. We don't want to be business developers. We don't want to be pushy and all of this sort of stuff. And as a result, we don't do it.
I think you're right. And I think the point that Jennifer makes is the fear of rejection. And I think if you've been trained and you've had a career in sales, you kind of develop a thick skin relatively quickly, and you get used to that. My wife's an actor. She's got a very thick skin because she's constantly being turned down for roles. But as an accountant, that's not what you're going in for, right? So that's going to be part of it. I mean, Johan, you've got a thick skin, I think, what you told me.
Yeah. I mean, it's got thicker over the years. But I think there's a fundamental, and I'm very stereotypy here, so I do apologize. I don't mean to offend, but the general type of personality or disc persona you have, or whatever other matrix you want to look at and grade yourself against, doesn't always, like, what makes a good accountant doesn't always make, or bookkeeper, doesn't always make a good business owner, salesperson, marketing, advertising person. Like, if you're in a big organization and you've got them all to do their disc profiles or whatever psychological profiling you want to do, you will find all the people in one department, with a small amount of variation, will have a certain profile. And that'll be very different to all the people in another department, but they all need different skill sets and different personality types. So, but as business owners, we've got to be able to apply ourselves to every role and every profile required. But some of that is easier than others. So it might be easier for us to do some aspects of being a business owner, like business cases, business plans, looking forward, projecting our forecast. That's all in our wheelhouse as accountants and bookkeepers. Marketing, advertising, selling ourselves, and often we're quite modest about what we can do, is very much the opposite to our normal personality traits. So it is a huge challenge to overcome?
I think you're right. And just looking at the poll here, there's a real mix, but the big 3 challenges that people have is price sensitive clients and prospects. That's a really interesting one, because I think price sensitivity is they may well be price sensitive, but it could well be that you're not transmitting the value, they can't see the value, and they would actually be more flexible with price. But we can come back and talk about that, because I think you've written something about pricing or something, Johan, in your time. But also having the time for business development. That's 20% of people. It's just saying they haven't got the time. Now, if you make the time, you've got the time, and it's something I think people do try and put off because they don't really enjoy it. Which is the point of us today, because what we want to do is show ways that you don't have to really do business development. You're not going out and winning clients because there is existing riches in your client base. And that's what we're going to show you how to uncover. So, we were talking about some examples earlier. And I think you both had stories where there have been real riches, genuinely riches that have been found within a client base. Heather, what were you saying about some of your stories?
Yeah, I'll start with me, because I am a business owner and I have an accountant, and I'm like many business owners. The business is growing, all of this sort of stuff, and I've done my top line revenue for my business plan. Quite happy with that, but then I've got to do the cost bit. You know what? I really don't want to do it, and it's still not done. If my accountant had literally given me a slight nudge in October, November, December, even January, to say, would you like me to do it and get it uploaded, I would have said, take my money. And this is part of the issue, is we don't have enough of those little nudges. And it wouldn't have even been, Heather, would you like me to do my business plan? It's like, Heather, how are you doing? What's going on? Oh, you're busy. Is there anything we can help with you at the moment? That's not selling. That is just being genuinely curious and going, can I help? But we don't have fundamentally enough of those conversations. And it's interesting. One of my clients, it's Paul Wareham, it's in the domain, he is brilliant on a Friday at ringing the clients that he knows are likely to need his services. Not because somebody has put something big in front of him. He looks at, right, who had a really bad, poor submission of that, and their numbers were all over the place. Right, that's a bookkeeping conversation. They're probably getting too busy. Who go to my team. Who's growing at the moment? Tell me who's growing quickly at the moment. Okay, let me give them a call and do literally that conversation. How are things business-wise? What's going on for you? What's happening? Be curious, and you can pick up. And Paul will tell you 2 out of 3 conversations, he will pick up work. Now, we also did some work with 2 gentlemen called Ali and Hassan, and they were like most people on this call. They wanted clients to come to them and say they needed their help. They were, a little bit, should we say, as you would say, Johan, the typical profile of accountant, a little bit passive, the nicest people I ever know. I could spend an evening in their company and just feel surrounded by niceness and kindness. And they had to learn to be really good at picking up the phone to clients, and they had to learn to build out those touch points. And when they did, that's the point where suddenly they're winning 5 to 10 grand a month of new business ad hoc most months from an existing clients without feeling silly. But it's we don't have enough touch points. We don't put enough focus around it. And then we wonder why won't clients come and talk to us about the work they want?
Yeah, it's seeing it and asking for it. Johan, have you got any particular stories where you've uncovered riches that you didn't quite expect?
I suppose it's really about just entertaining every conversation and remembering that there's a greater world out there than email. Like, as Heather said, like, if you get an email in from a client with a problem, if you ring them and start going through things, you start realizing and what more value you can bring to them. Like, one of my best success cases is a client that came to me on quite a low fee. She came to me just before COVID. The business, lovely little bistro in Edinburgh, basically insolvent, like hemorrhaging money every single month. So we spent a lot of time with her. We helped her grow. Now she does what turnover she used to do in 2019 is her profit in October 25. She's gone from that to a multi-million-pound business with multiple locations now. And every time I go and meet her, she thanks me, says, "This is because of you, because I helped her hand and I guided her through it, and I helped her just look at cost savings and have you priced your menus right? Great, chef's put a special on, but has he actually priced it properly? Do we need this many staff in here? Do we need more staff? Are we actually throttling the amount of sales we're doing because we haven't got enough staff to turn the tables over quickly enough?
Yeah.
Is the restaurant laid out effectively? Have we got as many covers in here as possible without being overcrowding?" Whenever I do my fee review with her, she just signs away. I don't think there's a number I could stop at where she goes, "Ooh,
too much."
But in 5 years, we've times her fee by 6.
So it's not necessarily a case of just formally adding new services. Even it's being able to add the value so that your value.
About helping the customers. It's simple bloody stuff that they then go, "That's incredible." Like she was spending a fortune on food waste, and I said to her, like, "That's a lot of money going on food waste. Is there any better providers or anything out there?" I said, "The amount of coffee beans we provide, which adds the weight, which means the bags get weighed and we pay by the weight. Why are you throwing coffee bean granules away?" "Well, what else are you going to do with them?" I said, "Bag them up, give them away as compost fertilizer for free. Environmental, the customers love it, and you've just saved a load of money on your food waste." Oh, and I'd only learned that from another client that was already doing it. But that one nugget, it saved her thousands over the years, and she thinks is incredible. That's not technical. That's not me going to university and getting a degree in something and blowing her mind with graphs and tables. That's just advice.
Yeah. And I think you're right at that point about being on the phone. I get criticized by some of my colleagues because I'm always the one who I just call people up and speak to them and throw ideas around. And what they might want is an email. They want it structured. But I just find that those conversations is where new ideas happen all the time. But what we want to do is try and get some structure around this so that people watching are able to go away and apply some of this to their own lives, to their own firms. So I think let's look at, first of all, spotting the opportunity. So Heather, take it away.
So before we get into that, I'm going to go slightly off piste, in which point you're going to go, "No," but I just want
mute button right here. If you sing,
get the mute button ready.
but a lot of people might be sitting here and going, "But that's not my client base. I've got really tiny clients, a lot of self-assessment, a lot of sole traders." We have the biggest opportunity, and we were just speaking about it at Accountants Growth Club members morning. It's time to activate boss mode. If you've got a lot of those really tiny clients, you've got a massive opportunity there to do stuff. A lot of them need digitization. A lot of them need hand holding. There is so much out there with even your tiny clients. And you've got to remember that, some clients might want that business advice, but I've got a great member who he deals with the smaller, he calls them hands-on business owners. And he's doing a lot of just putting their mind at rest. No, you don't need to worry about that bit. We're doing that bit. That it isn't just the big transformational stuff. There is so much out there, right from the tiniest clients right up there with the advent of MTD. So going back to the question you're asking, and I'll go back on there, is it starts with you. My phrase today is activate boss mode. And I really mean it. Are you running your practice, or is your practice running you? If I were to say to you that it's something like 4 to 12 times easier, and it depends on which study you're talking at the moment, whether Forrester, Brown, all of this sort of stuff, depends on which stuff you're reading at the moment. But it's literally something like 4 to 12 times to get more work out of existing clients. Everybody on here is great with numbers. So you can do those numbers. We've got to start with ourselves, and you've got to start with the intention, because most of us haven't gone out of our thinking. If I need to win work, I need to go out networking. I need to put something on social media, because that's what we did when we first started. And so we have this cultural, we get very, very busy, and we stop really thinking about our client base when we get to a certain size. That gets even worse when we start to get, client managers beneath us that we bring in because we've run out of time. Because they're often, as Johan said, they're often at the sort of quieter, more introverted numbers. They have a desire to help people. They need management, and we've got to activate boss mode. We have to help them apply a process. Most people in accounting firms are brilliant at applying a process. So why don't we apply a process for upselling in the same way that we apply a process to do a VAT return, that we apply a process to do this? We've also got to help them with that cultural change. So we talk about, right, how many tax returns have we got to do? How many year-end accounts? I have a laugh with our members and go, right, you're not an accountant if at this time of year, you haven't got a spreadsheet color-coded, manually color-coded, of course, printed out of where your tax returns are and who's where and what. And everybody has a really big laugh, because that isn't it, what it is at most firms in November, December, January. So why don't we take that kind of energy into how do we upsell? Why don't we have the same conversation? This is a cultural change. How are you going to shift people to realize your job is not just about get the tax return out, get this year-end account. Your job is to, as Johan, I love it, there is a much greater world out there than email if you pick up the phone. So how do we build that cultural change where people realize it is their job? How do we build the identity that your role is there to help people? And if that means we win a bit of extra work, what a shame. It's a bit of that thing, we have to stop waiting and wanting clients to turn around to us and go, can you help me? Because you just heard me at the start going, really busy, overwhelmed. If my accountant had rung me, I would have gone, take my money. But I wasn't approaching him. We've subsequently had this conversation, and I'm still not approaching him for it because I can see he's too busy to do it. And herein lies the problem. Activate boss mode. What are you there to do? Build your team up beneath you to be able to do the day-to-day. Get them to help you do that. And I'm going to shut up before somebody mutes me.
Well, you didn't sing. I wasn't waiting into song. But yeah, it's how do we create that cultural change? What is it that needs to change in a firm to make those opportunities become visible and for people to be ready to spot them? What practical things can people do to impose that change?
So I, surprisingly enough, I use TaxCalc in my firm and Engager.
Oh.
That surprises me. The Engager.
Hold on to your seats. So one of my favorite features is the what if planner in TaxCalc, right? Tax planning report, really easy to use. Any of my team members can go, new line of revenue, new different projections, whatever, put them all in. We get a tax bill projection for the next year. Now, I getting people to go on the phones can be difficult. It's out of our comfort zones. But what we've done is we go, when we complete a tax return job in Engager, it sends a status update email out to our clients. That email used to say, just to let you know, we filed your tax return. You'll see it updated at HMRC in the next 48 to 72 hours. Thanks. Now it says that, plus now we've filed your tax return. If you would like to sit down and plan your tax bill for the following year, we have this tax planning service for X amount. So there's no fear of rejection there because it's just sent. And it's a nice, someone said yes when it does come in, but you don't sit there going, will they say yes? Will they say no? Because you've not really sent them a proposal.
Yeah.
It's a suggestion. It's a hint towards something. Like we've done really well.
Yeah, every single one of your clients could take that on.
Literally, we've increased the revenue we make out of those little self-assessment only clients by 50% in the last year by offering that service just as a thing at the bottom of an email. Like,
so there's a simple task. But we were talking earlier about like building that discovery into your routine. And that's, I know
we also need to realize where we're not experts. So I know for my firm to get better revenue and profits, my team need to be better at cross-selling, upselling, and referring. Like we're at the heart of a network of businesses as accountants. Whether you've got 10 clients or 800 clients or 10,000 clients, your firm is at the heart of that network because they're all coming to you. So if there's money to be made by going, let me introduce you to the wealth expert I know, because you're just trying to talk to me about pensions. I'm not allowed to talk to you about pensions or savings accounts and stuff. Then we need to be better at that. So I know my team needs to be better at that, but I'm also very aware that's not my skill set either. So I can't, it's like blind being led by the one-eyed man. Yes, I'm slightly better at it than my team, but not much. So I actually pay for someone to come in and coach my team once a month in cross-selling, upselling, and making referrals. And we earn 4 times more out of cross-selling, upselling, and making referrals than I pay him each month.
Right.
I'm training them.
I wonder how many people in the chat have taken that step and actually got kind of external sales.
We all sit there thinking we're the business owner. We must know what we must know. And if you're not much better at doing it than your own team, like how many people built their own website? Or did they actually go, this is a bit out of my skill set, I'm going to get someone to do it? You know, did you build your own conservatory? No, you brought someone in. You brought an expert in. And far too often the business owners, and I call accountants and bookkeepers business owners because we are business owners, unless we're employed, but we are business owners. One of the skill sets is to recognize your own skill set and to recognize what you're good at and what you're bad at. And you don't have to be good at everything. You just need to bring in the skill set to offset your weaknesses to make you a stronger business.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Heather.
I was just going to say that, you know, we run our new business accelerator program. Non-members could go on it. And interestingly, it's like, well, will you invest in your own skill set to do this? Or will you just whine that people are price sensitive and that you haven't got any leads coming through and it's a dark art? And my coach challenged me the other day and said, you got this problem in your firm. Why don't you get somebody in to help you with that? And I went, and they went, no, you know, take your own medicine. You know, you wouldn't. Why are you trying to do everything yourself? You're a business owner. Who is the right person to do this?
But we were talking before about putting, like, literally building this into your workflow.
Yes.
So Engager has got a workflow. What do we put into that workflow to
It's as simple as adding those little snippets into your emails. You're already emailing the client to provide them with some information, whether it's whatever it is. So there's always an opportunity. Like when we send an email that says, we filed your VAT return, pay X amount. We always say, normally when people have to pay the VAT bill, they start to struggle with cash flow. If you want a cash flow planning session, let us know. And there's a booking link. So again, it gets rid of the risk of rejection. Then when we have our client catch-up meetings, so our rule in my firm is every client gets a call 4 times a year, like quarterly, minimum. Some clients get weekly, monthly, etc., depending on how much they're paying. But we touch base 4 times a year to find out what's going on, how are they finding things? Because even if it's a case of, oh yeah, really good, just trying to balance buying a new house and doing this, it's like, oh, hang on, you're trying to buy a house. Have you found someone that's good with a mortgage? Because most mortgage lenders, most mortgage brokers and banks don't do well with self-employed and directors. I've got an expert. He's going to throw me 50 quid for introducing you, but he's going to save you a lot of time and effort. Is that okay? And just by having that quarterly catch up and having that general conversation, like we've got notes in like Engager of wife's name's this, kids are this, this, and this, dog called Fred, favorite sport, we've got notes so that we can contact them and we can be human, because we can't all remember everything about every client. So we have to have notes.
I wanted to just go into it. It's really to help people think through, how do you find those moments? Because people are at risk of going, right, Johan's got a great idea. And by the way, I've noticed that one down. It's going, right, on every time we send out a standard bit on our Engager, we'll put an upsell line. And the answer is yes, but no. So the answer is to really get into the idea of your client persona. So who is your client persona? What are they worried about? What are they scared about? Put yourself, what are they challenged by? Put yourself in their shoes. And that's when you can then go, right, if we're going to deliver excellent client service, which for me is the fundamental route to winning more from clients, you know, no great client service, no extra work, is really think about what are those little touches. So for example, you're asking about putting it into the workflow. So year-end accounts, month 9, 10, 11, that should be a standard tax planning, business planning. Sometimes it's an offer, sometimes it's part of the service. You then get into 2 weeks before year end and your workflow coordinator gives them a call and checks everything's ready and everything needed. They may have had a tax planning, not have a tax planning. Between that, there should have been a, right, this is, you know, we've had a conversation about what you want or need for the next year. So this is your new fee. You know, you can build all of that in. Another workflow is at your VAT. In that, you know, 2, 3, 4 weeks before your VAT return, VAT quarters up, run it through one of those accuracy tools. Our favorite is Xenon Connect, but other tools are out there. You know, and there's brilliant, by the way, there's absolute brilliant it integrates really nicely with Client Engager. I went after we had that conversation, Andy, and I got shown how brilliant it was. You put that as a task within your workflow. You can get people to run that. If it comes out as a certain score, then it prompts a phone call. Now, your team member might not be up for doing that phone call, but they have a task to tell you to do that phone call. And in that phone call, you, once again, activate boss mode and tell them that their books are a mess in a nice way and say, are you really busy at the moment? I've noticed that your books are not up to your normal standard. Can we help? And you come on the call and you've prepared, this is our fee to do the cleanup work. This is our fee to take it forward. Would that help you? So you're looking at being relentlessly helpful. But you also think about time of year. So a lot of our members have gone, yeah, I've just rolled off self-assessment. I'm now into tax planning season. We're getting up to the end of the tax planning year. So there's an opportunity for have you maximize this, and this checklist, give us a call. Every time, you know, your A and B clients, if they're your registered address and you get some mail for them, use your, you know, your client, you know, front of house person or the client manager, who it is, to give them a call to say, look, we're planning it in, but there's a piece of mail for you here, just so you know it's coming. How are you? Is there anything we can help with? It is about literally getting your workflow with all of these, what I would call micro moments from Johan, and bigger workflow things, and making sure that they're optimized to who you really want as an ideal client.
And Xenon Connect is phenomenal. We've got a whole service spun off it. So we've always had clients that, oh, we'd rather do our own bookkeeping because either they're small and they're just trying to save money, or they're big and there's lots going on. Like, and really, you really need someone sat in that office to overhear phone calls and stuff and go, okay, that job's on hold. We won't bill yet, blah, blah, blah. Or there was a missed delivery. We need to make an adjustment. It's just so much easier that person's in the office. So we have what we call is a bookkeeping support package. And we price that. And one of the tools we use on it every month is Xenon Connect. And we go and we send them a report from it and go, right, the terms and conditions of bookkeeping support and us doing your accounts is that you maintain a health score above, I think we say 85%.
It'd be worth explaining just what Xenon Connect is actually doing there to generate that support.
It's looking at all the transactions, the balances, duplicates, reconciliation, simple things like when were the books last locked down and stuff. We could go into that for hours. But then we send that tool, we send that report to them and go, here's the problems, go fix it. If you can't fix it, here's a quote for us to come and fix it. It doesn't take many of those occasions before they go, it's obviously not working. We're not doing the books to a good enough standard. How can you help? And we go, right, you guys keep doing the sales invoices and stuff. We'll pick up the rest. And all of a sudden we've gone from a bookkeeping support client to a full bookkeeping client. But either way, because I know when we come to do the accounts, the profitability for us is in the accounts, because especially if we've done all the bookkeeping, because it should be really simple to do a set of accounts. And we all know we can charge more for doing a set of accounts because there's a public perception that accounts are more valuable than bookkeeping, rightly or wrongly. We can debate that all day. But I know if we do the bookkeeping, we can do the accounts more efficiently and more profitably. If I've kept the bookkeeping of the person that's doing the own bookkeeping up to 85% health score, I know I'm still really profitable in the accounts. It's when they do all their own bookkeeping, then I dig into it at the end of the year and go, oh my God, it's a mess. Do I want to debate this with the client? Should I have flagged this earlier? Etc. etc. Then I end up doing it all in the team, and then we do the accounts, and then we're not profitable as much. So yeah, Xenon report is a whole new service that you charge monthly for that you weren't charging money for originally.
Just a bolt on. It's very, very impressive. So, okay, so in terms of finding those opportunities, it does come down to some fundamentals, and that is listening and being conscious of what is actually happening in your client. So to listen, you've got to talk, so have more conversations. And I think that's really, really clear. Might not be easy, but it doesn't have to be salesy. You're simply there to help. You're simply there to pick up the phone. I'm there to help, but you want to listen to what they're saying. That's the first rule of selling anything is listening. And those tools, and I think there was one other thing, Johan, is some of the ways that you're able to spot activity within your client. Maybe they've, say, bought a house, or they're buying a house, or something that might trigger an event. Paying attention to those. Now, you can run some quite interesting reports within Engager and TaxCalc to spot that, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's look at TaxCalc, right? We all know MTD, it's coming. In April, we've got to speak to all of our clients that have got 50K turnover or more that's subject to MTD it. TaxCalc's got a report, like a couple of clicks of a button out of the TaxCalc report module in the practice management tool, and you've got a whole list of all the clients that will be subject to MTD it based on the data that was in the 24-25 tax return. So you've now got that data. Now you can take that data, go into Engager if you're using it, tick all the clients that it includes, send a bulk email out to them all, going, you're subject to this. Here's some materials, here's some blogs that we've written on our website, but we understand you might want to have a chat about this. Here's a link to book in for a call. And we can start the process like that. And then once you've done that, the next week, start ringing around them. Did you get my email? Have you got any questions? Brilliant. Well, let's get you booked in for an in-depth call. I know you're probably busy and you've just picked up the phone out of courtesy because I've rang you, or out of panic because I've rang you. But we can get the data from TaxCalc to start those conversations.
Now, I must remember to write that down. So MTD for what? Sorry, I've not come across this yet.
Government's not really spoken about it. It's going to be quite a surprise.
Okay, so moving on. We change the culture. We start listening, watching, seeing these opportunities. We start to be able to take advantage of them without selling them. Now, what happens when you've got that information, right? So you've spotted a client, they're buying a house, their books are in a state. I think what gets in a lot of people's way is knowing how to make that next step. And I think, Heather, you've got some advice on kind of building pricing. Go for it.
Yeah, and on our new business accelerator, we say to people, pick up the phone. When I'm doing one-to-one growth expert stuff with it, pick up the phone, and I get this. We're a bit British about this, how do I start the conversation? Will they be expecting me? What happens if they're grumpy with me? And once again, we're into fear of rejection about it. So it sounds really simple, but actually you've got to make it easy to pick up the phone. So here are some of the tips that we share with members on our new business accelerator. So text them in advance. Hi, it's Heather, your accountant here. When's good for me to call you this week? I've noticed something on your accounts I'd like to talk through with you. So you can get a mutually agreeable time, so you don't have the whole ickiness of will they pick up the phone. I've already talked about, having a member of staff that is your front of house that loves being on the phone, and they can do some of that. The next thing is gamify it in your team. Gamify it, can you offer a prize for who does the most client phone calls in a week? The next thing is set the expectation with clients. You know, when you're onboarding them as a new client, or if you're doing the quarterly calls, set the expectation that, you know, and particularly for your A and B clients, you know, we will ring you occasionally. Please be, you know, don't be afraid, but we do like to have a chat and see how you're doing. Here's one I picked up from Guy Robinson of Zebra Accounting. Great guy. He used to have days where his whole firm wasn't allowed to use email, because he had very much, as you said, Johan, he had a phone first philosophy. Our clients need to be hearing us by phone first. And if you thought that they were slipping back, right, today's the day we're not allowed to use email. The next thing is, and my daughter is an 18-year-old, you know, she thinks that she's got to ring me up. Something's gone really wrong. She really, really hates that feeling of being on the phone. You know, she booked her car in to have a service for its first time ever, and she was on an adrenaline high because she'd psyched herself up to ring the garage and get it booked, and she was so proud of herself. But this is that Generation Z millennials. So, you know, great. She's learned to pick up the phone working for her accountancy firm. How did they do that? So they rotate who's covering reception. You know, when their normal person is out for lunch or isn't there because she does 10 till 3, they rotate who's picking up the phone. So it means everybody get exposed to, you know, just having somebody ringing in and talking to them, and they're used to that. You know, it's a really good way of getting not even the youngsters, but people good at being able to be polite and chatty on the phone. But as you know, a big thing for me is you need to know the red flags. You know, what are the things that should prompt a phone call? And I think the more that you can codify that into your workflow that you can use on Engager. I love the fact that you know, Xenon Connect is so integrated that you just, if I understand rightly, you sort of refresh it and the scores come up. You know, that's a task.
Don't even need to refresh it. We just pull them in. They're always there.
Yeah, reel them in.
You can't even start a job without seeing a health score if you don't want to.
Exactly. And, you know, that's very much for me, that's an objective for whether it's accounts assistant, a bookkeeper or whatever. Anybody that has got that is an objective that goes, you know, if it's under this score, you need to give them a call. And by the way, here's our library of Loom videos or scripts for in this situation. You know, one of our very successful members has literally got this huge library of Loom videos that he's very good at talking, that he's talked through stuff so that when any of his team go, I don't know how to, goes, look at the Loom video. So, you know, you can build that huge, lovely resource to help with these things. But the best thing to do is text the client in advance and say that, hi, need to grab a quick conversation with you. When's good? And it makes it so easy.
I think it's interesting what you say. I'm not sure I don't think there's going to be any 18-year-olds on this chat. So I think I can probably say this, but an 18-year-old who was very close to me got a job in a certain high street pharmacy. It was his first job. And they picked him up after a couple of hours because when he was answering the phone, he was just going, hello. And the use of the phone just was not part of that. Was like, I think, the first time he'd used an actual landline phone ever. And you know, you forget that some people just aren't used to that, and that's interesting that, you know, even calling the garage can be something of an issue. So I think that texting up front, setting up the call, it takes away a lot of that first, right? Yeah.
And just going back to what you were talking about, Andy, about before we do any of this, we need to get the pricing right.
Yes.
Like, that's huge. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put into the comments a free pricing guide that I wrote for Engager users. Anyone can take it. It's on the website. You just download it after you put your email address in. But I've literally spent time researching with Engager users what they're charging for what services and how they're charging it. And it's actually this was the guide I wrote that then led to a few weekends lost down a rabbit tunnel, which ended up with a book talking about the psychology of pricing, as well as this stuff about the how to price each service, because a lot of people out there are still charging by the hour. As an example, during tax season, I don't get involved in much in my firm with work because I'm not allowed to. Tax returns is the one thing I am allowed to crack on with. So in my firm, if I was charging out, say, £150 an hour, I spent 3 hours doing tax returns. So I'd have made my firm £450. I actually made my firm £2,700 in invoices, because it was in my interest to be as efficient as possible with processing tax returns. So if you're charging by the hour, you're not incentivized to use the best tech, the best processes, and be efficient. When you're charging with fixed rates, it's now in your interest to be as profitable as you can, and to do that, you've got to be as efficient as you can. Using TaxCalc and Engager allows us to do that really well.
But knowing that pricing is absolutely crucial, because if you're going to ask, if it's you or you're going to ask someone else in your team to call up someone and discuss business, and what happens if they get, oh yeah, actually, would you be able to do that for me? And they can't reach for those prices. They can't reach for the, when can you come in and have a meeting? If that information needs to be there, because that person needs to feel really comfortable when they're making the call that everything's there. So the pricing, really, really important.
This webinar is all about making more money from our clients. The big issue actually is most people are making less money year on year due to inflation, because they're not even putting their prices up by inflation. So in your mobile phone contract, in your broadband contract, every single company has, we're going to charge you this percentage on top of the annual inflation rate. And by default, your fee goes up, unless you're with EE and they charge you just £1.50 more a year every year, because that's how they work. So in my firm, in our letters of engagement, it says fee increases will be dictated by inflation every year. This is it. So most people haven't even built that into their letters of engagement and their pricing. They don't even do an annual. So before we even start talking about, I'm going to go and try and get some upselling and cross-selling done here, actually, you're already 5% behind on last year, because wages and softwares have all gone up. Like, you're already losing. So you've got to get these basics right. You've got to get pricing the service right in the first place, and you've got to maintain your pricing differential.
And what I often see is that people base their price on the cost of a set of year-end accounts. They kind of go, a set of year-end accounts, chuck in a tax return, 4 VATs, the price is X. What we forget is the ongoing service, and we don't cost that in. As a result, we're often, then really struggling to do this proactive stuff. So even if it's not a formal 4 meetings a year, and it's one formal meeting, but you're aiming to have 3 in there, that goes in your base price. This is the cost that we charge. And I would always say, look at if you can do the bookkeeping, you've got far more opportunities to then find opportunities to do this sort of stuff. But it's not about base it around, well, this is the cost of year-end accounts, so I'll do X, Y, and Z. It needs to be, right, what is the whole service? And it's really interesting that Henry says if they're not putting up prices, they need a new accountant. Look, we work with loads of people in the Accountants Grow Club, and apart from one, every single member has needed help with their pricing. So if you're sitting here going, I've got legacy clients, I know I need to put my money up, you're in really good company. It's as I said, apart from one person in the whole history of the club, everybody else I've helped put their prices up to the right amount. Because once, and as our members have discovered, we run a profitability session with our daily power up on a Thursday, led by a really good member. Interestingly, he still charges per hour, but he's the most profitable. He's not a specialist tax advisor. He's the most profitable person I know. And he says, if you don't value yourself enough to price properly, your clients won't value your service.
Absolutely.
I had a software company reach out to me, a local one in Edinburgh, and they rang me and said, "Oh, we're after a price for accounting and bookkeeping and stuff." It's like, cool, no problems. We had a chat about their background, about my background in software, and they're like, "Oh, that sounds brilliant. You're really going to understand the pain points we're suffering with and stuff." It's like, "Yeah, no problems." Said, "Right, I'll send you a quote," because I don't quote on the phone. I always send the quote afterwards, each to their own. The guy rang me back and said, he emailed me back on the weekend and said, "You're about twice the price of every accountant we've spoken to so far." I said, "Yeah, but not one of those accountants has ever helped run a software business." Like, at which point he went, and he just signed. Like,
I'm
I
not
could
sure.
have gone,
everyone's got that
okay, I'll discount my fees to be in line with everyone else. But actually I went, no, we've just had a really good phone call and we've just really got on, and you love the fact that I can bring this experience to your business. And then you're trying to measure me against a normal accountant that's got no software industry experience. No, it's not happening. Know what you're good at and stand by, like, re-explain that value if they've forgotten. But
expressing value. So look, we've got a few minutes to go. What I'd like to do is, I think we were going to talk quickly about the health check model, that kind of formal health check model. We had a question there, Johan, if you could just talk, because I think your model of the bookkeeping support could be a solution that everyone could take on very, very easily. And
I better trademark and copyright it quickly.
I would if I were you. Do it quickly. You've got a minute. And I'd just like to call out Henry, who I'm not sure if you're new to the TaxCalc TV. I don't think we've heard from you before, but Henry appears to be running a niche practice in the dental sector, sits on the board as a CFO for some of his clients, puts his prices up by 25% every year. Is there anything you're doing wrong, Henry? I mean, you tick a lot of boxes. Congratulations. That's superb work. So,
the question, never sure when best time to increase prices. So I've got 2 tips here. One is April. And the reason I say April is because that's when everyone else is putting their prices up. So you're not suddenly putting your head above the parapets, as it were. Like in April, you're going to get messages from, or March, ready for April. You're going to get messages from O2, BT, EE. All of your providers are putting their prices up in April in line with inflation. It's all over the news. The inflation rates are announced. So actually, you've got evidence. You can literally go, like when we announce our inflation increase for the year, we actually put in the BBC News, choose whatever news broadcaster you want, article about the annual inflation rate that's just been published. So we're backing ourselves up with evidence. We're not just coming up with a figure. It's like, it's scientific and here it is evidenced. The other time to look at pricing clients is in line with their year end, because a lot of firms, and it's in this guide as well that I wrote about basing a lot of the metrics on annual turnover and profitability and stuff. So actually the best time to do it is at the end of financial year when you're looking at their turnovers and stuff anyway. And it's like, right, for the year ahead, it's your new business year. This is what we're going to charge you for the year ahead for your new business year. So 2 good opportunities there as timing points to increase your fees.
Awesome. So, okay, finally then, we were talking about the kind of formal health check, which is a really, really good way of doing that. So, Heather, you encourage those, right? That's your...
Oh, absolutely. So I remember a lovely comment that someone said right at the beginning. I would much prefer my clients to come to me and ask for stuff. We've got to flip that. Is remember that clients are busy. They're not necessarily thinking about you 24/7. They're thinking about their business 24/7. So you've got to insert yourself into their mind. A great way to do that is run a quarterly bookkeeping health check, or as Johan says, even a monthly one. You know, one of the things we're recommending for if you've got clients that are caught up with MTD ITSA is that actually that even if they say they're doing their own bookkeeping, they are signed up to a bookkeeping support health line where you run a check on their stuff each month. So it is, and have I spelt it right? Kyra is that if they're small and you don't know their numbers until they do the accounts, you've got to go into boss mode. What software do you want them to use? And you want to insist that you have an accountant's log on so that you can actually check and run this stuff. If they don't want that, you've got to ask yourself, are they the right clients for you? It's activate boss mode. It's your business, run it. So whether you do it monthly, whether you do it quarterly, this should be just part of that base. This is what it costs to be our client. Not, hey, you've got to have 3 sets of year-end accounts, two VATs, whatever. And you know, even if they're sending you an Excel CSV at year-end, they will get caught up in digitization. It's coming, and it's our duty to educate our clients for that. So yeah, I would always say get some software to help you with this so you can do it at scale. We've mentioned Xenon Connect a number of times because A, it's good, and B, it integrates well with Client Engager, but it needs to be part of your workflow. Who's going to do it? When are they going to do it? And then have you got a decision tree on if this is orange or red, talk to me. And this needs to be measured. This needs to be part of your KPIs, because you know, when people look at KPIs, they go leading, lagging, and I dealt with so many accountants that goes, which KPI should I be tracking? And you either go too little or too many, and you get all so accountancy about these KPIs. It's, for me, it's keep it simple. If you're measuring completion of health checks, each one of those is an opportunity for an upsell. So that would be that, and number of referrals you get would be two of the absolute ones that I would be checking, because those are really easy ones to go. If we're doing the health checks, we're picking up problems, that's stopping us spending a lot of time unpicking at year-end time or VAT time. We're having those proactive conversations. So it is very much, that's got to be woven into the fabric. Clients want proactive accountants. We often don't give it to them because we don't have the leadership management time put on it.
Right. Okay. So make those an absolute essential. Okay. Finally, so Johan, I don't know if you do want to talk a little bit more about how you've got a built-in additional service that you can sell to all of your clients, already wrapped up with the bookkeeping support service. Do you just want to just recap on how that works?
Yeah. Basically, we use Xenon. So any clients that are on bookkeeping support have to be using accounting software that connects to Xenon, which is most of them now. So all the big four connect to Xenon. In Engager, we link to Xenon. So in Engager, a job card comes up for bookkeeping support for a client. And without even having to click into the job card, because we've linked it to Xenon, we've got a little heart that is either red, orange, or green, and a percentage score right there. So without even having to go into Xenon, I can tell you what the health score of that client is. So,
but is bookkeeping support it's a line item, people can come to you,
yep,
and you add that on as a service, so they're paying up front?
So when we're quoting the client, so we base it on the number of transactions and annual turnover as multiplying factors. For that one, so the bigger the client, the more it costs. The smaller the client, the cheaper it is. I think the smallest base fee is like 30 quid a month, and that includes the cost of Xenon. I love it when people go, "Oh, do you charge extra? Do you charge them for Xenon as well?" It's like, well, you don't go to McDonald's and they don't go, right, here's your burger, here's your chips, here's the price for the oil, here's the price for the gas to heat the oil. So
it's just the service
is X, and that covers everything. That covers our time to look at it. It covers the cost of me sending the report via email, if you wanted to put a cost to that. Like, yeah, we're very granular at times in the accounting and bookkeeping world, to our own detriment. Like, we include it in the cost.
Yeah. So Michelle says, does Xenon facilitate monitoring top customer sales? I have a client that specifically wants this type of report.
No, but you're better off with SIF Analytics, Fathom, all of those kind of tools that will report on that. Like most accounting tools will go, here are your top 10, top 20, top 50 customers, and here's what they spent this month versus last month type thing.
And I just wanted to really quickly add something in. Most clients will ring you up with bookkeeping queries, even if they don't take bookkeeping. Oh, how do I do this? Or this has appeared here, or whatever. So this is about having an expectation with them that part of their monthly fee includes the ability to ring up if they do their own bookkeeping.
Yeah, so if they get bookkeeping support with us, they can email us questions, etc., and we'll help them out. If they want a telephone support, that's a premium. So, yeah.
Okay, so we're running rapidly out of time. I wanted to get your top 2, top 3 takeaway tips. What should everyone do, having watched this, tomorrow in their firm to make more money this year?
Take action.
Yes, well, you start, Johan.
So take action, because there's no point of just wasting an hour listening to us talk about it. Take action, even if it's small, and you go and update some of your email templates with a bit of a sales pitch in there. But also just remember, there's no one shoe fits all. There's no one size fits all. Like, what will work for one firm won't work for another, and that's okay. It's working out what's going to work for your firm. So don't get too upset if you're measuring yourself against everyone else and going, how are they achieving this? It wouldn't work for me. That's fine. That's okay. But let's work out what will work for you.
So my takeaways is work out who your ideal client is, and therefore how do you put those little 1% that Johan has been talking about to deliver great client service. My second thing is commit to this. You know, we often go, way, we're going to grow by 25% this year, and then we don't work out how. You know, how much is by repricing, how much is by MTD ITSA, how much is by existing clients wanting more. So really commit to this. What are your KPIs? How are you going to talk about it? How do you make it people's part of jobs? And then the third thing is make it easy for your team to take their part in this. You know, we don't want people going, well, I haven't picked up the phone, so I'm not going to do it. We don't want people going, well, I didn't know what to charge them, so I gave it away for free. Codify it in your workflow. Have your rate card up there. You know, give them access to Engager so they can do a quick quote on the fly with your, you know, with your acceptable, you know, monies in there. All of this stuff is there, but you've got to remember, my final point is activate boss mode. This is your practice. Make it happen. Don't whinge about it.
Activate boss mode and Xenon Connect. They're my 2 takeaways. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I'm going to put a poll live because if anyone watching wants to follow up on TaxCalc, if they want to follow up on Engager, or if they want to follow up on the Accountants Growth Club, the poll is now live. Just tick the box and we can arrange to get you followed up with more information on any of those products. And I would just like to thank everyone for coming today. It's lovely to see you all. Thanks for all of your chat. Well done, Henry, for being what seems to be one of the best accountants in the country. We're going to be back on the 11th, next week, next Wednesday. We have a power hour, which is your opportunity to get some absolute solid gold, best practice tips and techniques for using TaxCalc and Engager. And I will put into the chat a link to that power hour so you can join that from there. We're going to be back on the 4th of March. We are going to be looking at crypto. We're taking a look at the murky world of cryptocurrency. HMRC are going to be getting live feeds from digital wallets, and they are going to be very much aware of what your clients are doing with crypto. You need to be too. So come along and see that. It's on the 4th of March, again at 2 p.m. And of course, we're going to be at Birmingham. We're going to be at the Fab event at the NEC on the 11th and 12th of March. Please do come along. We love it when you come along and say hi. I saw you on the webinar with Heather and it was great. Heather, are you unable to make it? I know Johan's coming.
I'm there.
I'll be at QuickBooks Connect early in March, and then I'm running some of my own events for the club membership. So I'm making sure I'm a star. So I won't have time to get down to Fab, which is a real shame.
It's a shame because it's going to be good fun, and I'll be meeting the MTD therapy gang. I think I'm dining out with them that night, so that's going to be fantastic. So once again, thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you hopefully next week for the Power Hour. Take care. All the very best. Bye bye.